Of course, I see some of the things, but for some reason, I see more negative than positive about myself. So I try not to really look deep, and whenever I see my picture or something about myself, I go to the next one because I don't know, like sometimes people just being rude and mean like to all of us, and I feel like it just doesn't really worth.
At the 2026 Miami Open, the top player in the world, Aryna Sabalenka, was on the verge of being removed from the main stadium court. Carlos Alcaraz and Joao Fonseca retained their priority positions, but they almost relocated to a lesser arena. Additionally, the women's final was sold out by the same tournament that nearly killed its own winner. There were 16,830 individuals crammed into that stadium. This isn't a tale about empty seats. Rather, it's about a sport surpassing attendance records at the front door but subtly eroding confidence in the background. And in terms of what they stand for, the two people at its core could not be more dissimilar. Now let's get started.
After that and watch her try to continue to progress, because I like her game. Obviously, she wants to get better than where she is now. She's got a lot of good hand-eye coordination and ability to take the ball early and redirect. But the fan stuff is always fun for me because whenever you see players from smaller countries, the fans are so passionate when they get up to the...
You most likely noticed headlines like, Eala fans boycott the WTA final or empty stadium after Eala leaves Miami. Not for the truth, but for hits. Because these are the true numbers for the Miami Open in 2026. Over 410,000 people were expected to attend the 15-day event, continuing a run that broke the 400,000 mark for the first time in tournament history in 2025 when 405,448 individuals entered the gates. Revenue from tickets and hotels increased by 10%. At 16,830 spectators, the women's final between Sabalenka and Goff was a total sellout. That's the background. Let's now discuss what gave rise to the sense of a crisis. Because the emotion wasn't created in a vacuum. It originated from two extremely particular and actual incidents, and comprehending both of them alters your perspective on the tournament as a whole. The first one begins with a match that almost broke Alexandra Eala. Eala took the court against Laura Siegemund on March 20th. The 3.5 hours of tennis that followed were described in the record as feeling like life or death. During the contest, veteran Siegemund was accused of using dirty tactics. Eala shoved past them. When Eala triumphs, the organized Filipino fanbase known as Team Quiet, which follows her across continents, stays up late in various time zones, and travels in large numbers to qualifying matches, reacts with an intensity that is truly unmatched on the WTA Tour. Then, on March 24th, Karolina Muchova defeated Eala. It wasn't close. The scores were 6-0 and 6-2. Muchova's tennis was characterized as __, quotation _5 _, and when Eala departed, Team Quiet departed out of sadness rather than protest or boycott. There was a change in the acoustics in the venue. There was no longer any of the energy. And content producers needed that change, that quiet where there had been noise, in order to construct a narrative. Thus, they dubbed it Empty Stadium. In actuality, there was no change in the overall market for top women's tennis. However, Team Quiet had only one purpose in mind. Player, and that individual was vanished. This is where things change, then, since Sabalenka's experience on March 21st wasn't a perception issue. Rather, it was a true one. In order to protect ticket holders who had purchased seats specifically to see Carlos Alcaraz or the phenomenon Joao Fonseca, tournament director James Blake was considering removing Sabalenka from the main stadium court. Rain delays had already forced cancellations on Wednesday and Friday of tournament week. The other option? A backup location is the Butch Buchholz court. Sabalenka was quote 7 as the men continued to take center stage. The term used is that. Additionally, she made a clear analogy in her post-match press conference. Mira Andreeva had been granted a night session that started at 9 o'clock. Why, then? Sabalenka inquired. Wouldn't it be possible for Alcaraz and Fonseca to begin later that evening? She decided to play on the smaller court in order to ensure that she had a day off before her next match, just as it has been done in the past. She went on to win the Sunshine Double, winning $1,151,380 after defeating Gauff in the championship match. However, winning did not make her words go away. Because that match has nothing to do with what she said. It had to do with a pattern. And there is a history behind that pattern. She puts in a lot of effort. Indeed. She is the face of the Philippines, which is why we like her. Kurt Kalba is the only exception. She's considering the future as well. All I ever wanted was to see tennis flourish in the Philippines, but now I'm introducing tennis to a whole new global audience. We all gather together and watch a supporter as a group in order to win Eala plays. Are there real meetings like? Yes, indeed. Really? Yes, indeed. All right. It's ideal. You have to go back to 2023, not Miami, Cancun, to comprehend why Sabalenka had no more patience for this kind of situation. 2 months before the 2020 WTA Finals were scheduled to start, it was revealed that they would take place in Cancun, Mexico. A makeshift court constructed on a golf course served as the site. Poor building quality. Players characterized the conditions as ___8__. The most damning fact is that Sabalenka and the other world-class athletes were not allowed to practice on the match court until the day before their first games. Sabalenka expressed her feelings of disrespect in public. WTA CEO Steve Simon received a grievance letter signed by 21 of the top players in the globe. In the end, Simon apologized formally, admitting that the incident was quote 10 and that the WTA quote 11. The purpose of quotation 12 was to heal the wound. In reality, what they did was set the expectation that the WTA would behave differently in the future if it declared that it accepted responsibility. The proof was expected to come in 2026, the golf course courts, the 24-hour notice, the Cancun letter, and the possibility of Sabalenka moving to the Butch Buchholz court while male celebrities occupied the main stage all returned. She claimed to have quotation number 13 at her level. That was institutional memory, not simply momentary annoyance. This is the paradox that no clickbait headline will ever include in the title. The WTA is currently enjoying unprecedented commercial success. For both ladies, it will be a significant match. As the clay season approaches, they will both be defending a lot of points. Thus, they can add a lot of points with this victory. She really wants to win this event, Gauff. As she previously stated, she is competing in her home WTA 1000 competition in hopes of winning her first title of the year, her 4th WTA 1000, and her 12th WTA championship overall. In the meanwhile, Aryna hopes to win Indian Wells and Miami in the same year, making history as the 5th female opener to complete the Sunshine Double. Attendance at the Miami Open is at an all-time high. Income is increasing. The women's final was sold out. Genuine financial commitment is reflected in the prize pool. Gauff received $612,340 as runner-up, while Sabalenka received $1,151,380 as the winner. James Blake publicly acknowledged his obligation to quote 1 to 4 in opposition to content intended to polarize fan bases. Over a 10-year period, the tour's remuneration increased by $400 million. At the same time, a formal grievance letter was signed by 21 of the top players on the circuit. Top athletes claim that the tour model has quote 15 Sabalenka, the world number 1, the tour's face, and the player who recently finished the Sunshine Double, was almost moved to a secondary court in favor of male stars at a combined event during the same tournament that set all-time attendance records. The truth is that not fan boycotts, not deserted stadiums. In actuality, the WTA is both at the height of its commercial success and the lowest level of player trust. Following a sharp decline in ticket sales, channels like Cortex Sports and Courtside Prospect carried big events like WTA. In contrast to a sold-out final with 16,830 spectators, that framing collapsed. Blake confronted the misinformation head-on, outlining stories meant to foment animosity amongst various fan camps. The information was truthful. The fake panic failed. Here's what those same channels unintentionally got right, though. A situation has arisen. Simply put, it is not in the seats. What makes it worthwhile to watch is the interaction between the institution and its constituents. Seeing a young person truly rise to the occasion was memorable. At the beginning of the second set, it appeared as though she was physically fading away, but she persevered, and if she can maintain this pace, we will continue to witness the fight for years to come. She simply has a wonderful spirit. The way she battled through that fight, that is. And let's face it, winning several major games in a row is one thing. The leg is taped up. She appears to be a fantastic player, much like Jessica Gula. And as you mentioned, Coco, there were times when we thought, okay, that's it. How many times did we leave the green room couch and enter this space? After losing in the round of 16, Alexandra Eala declared that she will be competing in the European clay court season. Her position has fluctuated between 29 and 45. She is 19 years old. She entered the 2025 Miami Open as a wild card, ranked 140, and defeated Iga Swiatek and Madison Keys. Against Clara Towson, she was able to save match points. In 2026, she battled Siegmund for 3.5 hours. The sport is effective at that level, at the level of individual narratives. The winner was Aryna Sabalenka. Her salary was $1,151,380. Double the sunshine. In front of 16,830 fans, she stood. Even still, she left the competition in public, raising concerns about whether the organization she represents truly values her. The question of how long a sport can sell out its greatest moments while the individuals who create them feel like an afterthought remains unanswered.